Dylan.
Hey, Matt.
So we are joined by my co-host, one of my good friends, Kyle of Horror Movie Night, who told me that Mixed Nuts, the film we're talking about today, is his favorite Christmas movie of all time. I said we got to do it as a Thanksgiving episode because when I was a kid and I loved Adam Sandler and I would just make up what a movie was about before I saw it, I said, Mixed Nuts. It looks like a giant cast of people. It's probably about a family getting together for Thanksgiving, and just never bothered watching the movie.
It's so funny because like that's what you've been pushing forever. Whenever we talk about we're gonna get ready to record this, funny enough, I thought it was a Thanksgiving movie. Like looking at the cover, watching it. This is nothing but a fucking Christmas movie, dude.
I was
so
the whole
confused
time I'm
throughout the
watching
whole
it.
thing.
Yeah.
I literally thought it was a Thanksgiving. Again, I knew nothing about it. Nothing. I saw like in a magazine a very tiny version of the VHS box, which was like big Steve Martin head and then like a group of people underneath.
Yeah, and you just like looked over the Santa hat and the Santa Claus outfit.
Yeah,
and
look.
I think if you take all the red color out of the cover, maybe it looks like Thanksgiving. But there's there's a lot.
There's just something Thanksgiving-y about Steve Martin.
There is. You know what it was? I was probably like, you know what?
Kinda
Planes, trains, automobiles,
automobiles,
Mixed Nuts.
yeah.
He's just Mr. Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I literally, the way I first found out this was a Christmas movie was my good friend Robert Bacon has a podcast called Adam Sandler Please Stop, where he watches every single Adam Sandler movie in order of release with his two friends to determine where his career went so wrong. And obviously Mixed Nuts was very early in the run of that podcast. And they kept mentioning Christmas. I'm like, motherfucker, this is a Christmas movie? So like I immediately watched it.
Yes.
And I thank Kyle for picking this because it was my excuse to buy it on Amazon.com for like $3.50 and add it to my collection. But Kyle, I've got some very upsetting news.
What is it?
I think there's only two of us that like this movie.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
So I will say, I texted Matt. It was about this movie's 97 minutes, about an hour into it, and I'm like, it's like a fever dream, but possibly the most boring fever dream I've ever experienced. But at the same time, like I liked where it ended up. I liked the wrap up. Matt and I talk all the time about how like we're a sucker for a feel good story. I mean, that's why we love Christmas. That's why we love all the quote unquote shitty Hallmark and shitty Netflix movies. We love a good wrap up and a sweet wrap up, and that's what this flick had. As soon as we reached that like last 30-minute mark, I felt bad because I was like, I'm not gonna watch this every year, but I definitely dug towards the ending. I will say, absolute phenomenal cast.
Dude, yeah.
The cast is insane. Yeah. This is like one of the most stacked casts for a box office bomb I've ever seen, but I also think that half this cast was not nearly as famous in 1993 as they are now.
No, they weren't. And you know what? Like I was thinking about coming onto the show before tonight. I was like, man, I like, and because you know what did it for me? My wife Carly. I told her, I was like, I'm going to go on this Christmas podcast and talk Mixed Nuts. And she was like, you don't have to watch it again, do you? And I was like, oh, okay. So it's literally just me and my mom who love this movie. And now Matt. Maybe he don't love it, but at least I got, there's another one.
I almost had to make
so you don't
sure
have to like apologize. You know, I'm not
no.
crazed Munster
I'm not
fan
apologizing just because I made sure I wasn't in the minority here.
Yeah.
And I I searched up. I was like, what were the reviews on this thing?
Oh, they hated
this thing.
this.
Was absolutely shit on. People
hated
genuinely hated this.
People hated it,
which is so strange to me. It's such an inconsequential like. To me, it reminds me of like if I went to see like a high school show or a high school play of something that's not very popular. You don't know what the play is about, and you're like, "What the hell's going?" Now she's got a gun. Somebody's dead.
So Dylan, no, I am glad you were saying that because here's the biggest takeaway I had from this, and I shall start here.
Yeah.
Literally last week, I saw a stage play adaptation of Clue the movie.
Oh
right?
yeah, you were talking about that.
I feel like this movie reminds me in a lot of ways of Clue the movie. It just has that like ensemble comedy that's very much like a throwback to like a screwball comedy from like the 30s and 40s type vibe with like the fast dialogue and like 14 characters doing a bunch of different stuff. But secondly, I think you could take this entire screenplay and turn it into like a stage show and it would work. Like, and it would work really well. And this wasn't a movie where there was ever a moment that I like laughed out loud, but like every time I've watched this movie, which is only 2 times, I think this is my second time watching it, I have a smile watching it. I'm like, this is just so my shit. But I love like it's just juggling so much craziness, and it's you know this couple that's expecting a baby, and he wants to be a wall. He wants to do wall murals. Yeah, she says there's a great line. She goes, this felt straight out of a Kevin Smith script. She says, "You're a wall artist that has no wall, which means that you're nothing." And then Jon Stewart just goes, "You tell him, lady." Like,
Jon You're Stewart. A tracer. You trace.
It was a real tell him Steve Dave moment. Yeah. But you've got them. You've got the whole Suicide Hotline location, which is kind of your main spot. You've got...
Click it.
Yeah, you've got a transgender character, which, given that this is 1993, was actually handled way more delicately than I would expect for a 1993 comedy.
I was very worried with like when they started dancing and you had Steve Martin, like the avoidance of the hips and stuff like that. And I was like, is this going to be the whole bit? But then they like leaned into it. Was a very sweet moment, honestly, while they were dancing around.
And Lee Schreiber is fucking incredible in that role. He's so like he reminded me Maloney from Wet Hot American Summer, and then how he can just go into crime procedurals like that. I was like, well, Lee Schreiber did the same fucking thing. He's like plays this incredible comedic character, and we're not laughing at like the circumstance, more so that the circumstance of the events, which are just all chaos, not the character themselves. And he just plays it so well. He's so good.
But then you add this serial killer angle in the background of the whole movie, that there's just a serial killer on the loose, the Seaside Strangler. Like, it's so many weird things that's like, I get why people hated this, but I actually am charmed by how much it's trying to do. Because like you could just say, all right, we're going to do a comedy film about people who work at a suicide hotline and they have to work on Christmas Eve, and like the emotional strain that puts on everybody. And like, all right, cool. Like you could do a decent dramedy with that, but then it's like, but no, there's more. There's going to be a wall artist who doesn't have a wall to paint, and there's going to be a serial killer in the loose in the background. Madeline Kahn's going to be stuck in an elevator for like 30 minutes of this movie.
My mom used to quote that when I was a kid. She used to like quote that and sing that at me whenever we would get in an elevator, and it just made me crack up. There's a lot of I have a lot of like nostalgia for this film. And
you
now
get the most 90s Adam Sandler that you've ever seen.
The most 90s Adam Sandler. And like, you know, I like, you're totally right. Like, it's not a great movie, but I don't know. It's just, I just have a lot of nostalgia for it, and that's why I always make people watch it.
Dude, we just reviewed Rosie O'Donnell's Christmas record, and I was like, this is the most nostalgic
I remember
thing
the cover of that.
And I absolutely love it. So I'm with you. Like, nostalgia rules this podcast for sure.
Yeah, fair.
Especially when we start talking about JTT's I'll Be Home for Christmas. Like, that's one of my favorite Christmas movies, and I'm well aware how to the normies out there how bad of a movie that they may see that as. But that movie fucking rules.
That movie is fantastic.
And you know, this does just scream early 90s. Like, so loud and so, I don't know, proud, especially, but so loudly.
Again, like, I think just the part that Adam Sandler is playing in this movie alone says what time period we're in, right? This is a pre-Billy Madison, pre-Happy Gilmore Adam Sandler who's just
almost subdued,
but still doing his baby voice thing that he became so known for. It's like he's just walking around.
I don't think he speaks normally at all in this entire film.
No,
he's either doing the voice or he's singing. Yeah,
he's singing.
Exactly.
It's
he's either doing the or like it's almost like the high pitch, like Veronica Ford want to touch the hind. Like that's like his two modes this entire movie. You're just like, oh my god. Sandler just rolled in and was like, so you just want me to do like my thing?
You want me to do you want me to do the thing, the thing before it was the thing. It was.
Yeah. Because the other movie that he put out this year was Airheads. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Couldn't be like more dramatically different Adam Sandler in '93 than Mixed Nuts and Airheads.
God, Airheads is so good too.
It's such a great film.
You know what?
Amazing.
There is one bit in this movie, and unless I saw this sequence, but if I saw this scene the way I'm thinking I think I saw it today, the scene where they accidentally shoot Stanley.
Yeah.
Through the door, and then Steve Martin like picks up the gun, wipes his fingerprints on it.
That's the one.
Shoves
That is
it
the
in
one
her
part
hand.
that made me crack up.
Like
For real.
Just to
Swear
make
to
sure
God.
that her fingerprints are on the gun and puts it down.
Hands it over. So good.
I think that might have been the moment where I'm like, all right, I take back everything I said. Like, that
Like,
shit
that
was
is-
real good.
That is such a funny sequence. Like, regardless what anyone thinks of the rest of this movie, if that one little bit doesn't like just tickle you a little bit, like I'm sorry. And
so good.
But there's parts that are so dark. Stephen Wright's very small cameo is like so
God.
upsettingly dark.
That was the click. Like,
It really is. Yeah. With the click. Just click it, and then what?
bang, and he's like, when people are usually genuinely upset, they'll call back, and we hold on them for like a minute.
And there's something about when we get to the end of this movie, and then we'll just kind of work our way through the whole thing. But the only other thing I want to mention from this movie, hiding a dead body in a Christmas tree is so fucking funny to me.
I can still I oftentimes think of the slow motion where the body's in the air as the tree just rolling. I think about that. I think about that shot often.
Well, and I was thinking about you watching it because I'm like, this is a dude who like, you know, you're on this show for multiple reasons. A, you're my friend. B, you love this movie. But also, like, you're promoting a Christmas horror short that's, like, bouncing around the United States right now.
True.
And I'm like, dude.
I didn't think about that.
I did. Because I'm like, Kyle, like, wrote that short. And the way that you've told me the story is, like, you and your friends were like, all right, let's pretend that we got hired to do, like, the new Tales from the Crypt, and each one of us writes, like, 4 or 5 episodes. And you were like, I want to write the Christmas episode of this fictional Tales from the Crypt show. And then 12 years later, you like actually film it as a short.
Yeah.
I could totally see a Tales from the Crypt episode where the whole premise is like, we accidentally killed this body on Christmas Eve and we need to find a way to dispose of the body, so we dress it up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing is that like Tales from the Crypt is just on the other side of the black comedy spectrum. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just like, you know, this is clearly on one side where it's like it's still pretty light. It's an ensemble cast. It's pretty like boppy, and Nora Ephron. It's like, you know, it's pleasant. While Tales from the Crypt is clearly on the other side of that spectrum where like it's almost never pleasant, but it's still equally funny sometimes.
Nora Ephron's whole career is so fascinating to me.
It's incredible.
Like it is so all over the place, and the fact that this is like part of her
Part of it is wild.
is kind of insane. Because what is this, like sandwiched right in between When Harry Met Sally and Sleepless in Seattle? It came out the same year as Sleepless in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
Like she's dropping this and that film simultaneously, and like I kind of think of Sleepless in Seattle, I don't want to say I think of it as a Christmas movie because it's definitely not, but it starts at Christmas time. You know what I mean? Like the beginning of the movie is them like driving home from Christmas dinner. So like,
oh, this is directly in between Sleepless in Seattle and Michael.
Oh god,
that's odd. That is. That's confusing.
And then You've Got Mail, yeah. So she, wow, her career, while
is
fairly
fucking
short-lived,
weird,
is
man.
insane. Yeah.
It is it's wild. It's wild.
Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. I'm Shane O'Hare of the Geekscape Games Podcast, the #1 video game podcast on the Geekscape.network. Join myself, Derek Krenevelt, and a guest every fortnight as we discuss video game news, video game reviews, and dissections. That's Geekscape Games every 2 weeks on Geekscape.net.
So Kyle, beyond just like watching this with your mom, is this genuinely though your favorite Christmas movie? Like slap a trademark on that, or is this just the one that you have the most nostalgia for because of that time with your mom?
So, I mean, you might have, I don't know if you've come across this in your journey here on the podcast, but I imagine that there is a favorite children's Christmas one, and then a favorite like what I would say now is my favorite. Do you know, like, you know what I mean? Like Rankin Bass stuff like that. Like there's like Year Without a Santa Claus, I think I would probably say is my favorite in a certain conversation. Yeah. And then Mixed Nuts is there for sure.
It's in the conversation, yeah.
Mixed Nuts is for sure in the conversation for me. I think that Mixed Nuts and Scrooged both have a special place in my heart because my mom did watch them like every year and still watches at least Mixed Nuts. She tries to watch every year. And so my mom was an actor when I was young, and I think that this movie is so full. To say so full of acting is interesting, but the way that you said this feels like a stage play. You know,
it's, whether you like or hate this movie, you can't deny that every single actor in it is giving 100% to their character. Like no one is phoning in their role.
No, and they're all directed really well. Like everything feels very much like an actor's movie, right? And then, but then, like now as a horror fan and filmmaker, I have like my favorite horror one. I don't know. Everything's categorized a little bit for me.
Yeah. Same here, dude. We I don't think we've ever talked about what is our favorite Christmas movie. I think when we dive into that, it's always, what's your favorite animated? What's your favorite claymation?
Yes. Yeah.
What's your favorite horror? What's your favorite?
Well, for me, I always have to at the very least parse it out into like TV special versus movie.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, because I do have like, there's a lot of TV specials I like, but like I would say number one, without a bullet, would shock nobody, is The Muppets Family Christmas. Mm-hmm. And it could be my favorite Christmas anything. Yeah. But then when you open up the conversation to movies, it's like, I usually will say It's a Wonderful Life, but like deep down, I'm also like, I don't know, I do really love the first Home Alone, and I really like there's just so many of them that are in there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because I think that's the thing is that like Christmas movies are not a genre as much as they are a topic or a content. You know what I mean? It's like the same. I mean, it's the same way you hear like, well, what's your favorite crime movie? And it's like, well, I don't, like there's a lot. I don't know.
But I'm glad that you called that out, because this is the thing that I feel like we fight against all the time with Christmas 365 is like there is no other holiday that people are so annoyed if, God forbid, a Christmas movie or a Christmas episode of a show airs not within the established time frame. But it's like, but like you don't see anybody being like, what are you doing watching a Michael Myers movie in July? Like you can just watch a Halloween movie in July and no one says anything. But
and
like,
the stigma.
Yeah,
this is what this podcast is here for.
That's our attempt, man.
Honestly, like you could watch Mixed Nuts any time of the year. It's not that Christmassy. Thanksgiving specifically. It's not that like it's Christmassy in the setting and in the music and everything, but it's not like it's in California, so it's not like you've got like this snowscape everywhere. Like you could easily pop this in the middle of the summer and not feel weird that you're watching a quote-unquote Christmas movie in the middle of the summer.
Right.
But even then, like, I mean, it's just like you're saying. Like, nobody's going to get pissed off at you if you're watching Jaws in February.
No.
Like, it doesn't make any sense why there is such a stigma against Chris. Wow, now I'm fucking sitting here deep thinking about this whole thing. My students are flipping out on me because I'm talking about putting the Christmas tree up in the room already. I'm ready for it. Man.
Oh, drop the hammer on them tomorrow.
I think next year I might choose to watch a Christmas movie outside the confines of Thanksgiving to New Year's. You know, there's there's the hangover, the Christmas hangover, where you kind of catch up between that and New Year's. But I might throw something on in March just to see how it feels.
Yeah, which again, look, I'm just going to throw this out there. We'll possibly never do an episode about this, but another reason why I don't consider Die Hard a true Christmas movie. No one blinks an eye if they watch Die Hard in the middle of the summer because it's just a dumb action movie that takes place around Christmas. So
that's true.
Not a Christmas
movie.
We've
talked about it before. There's just something about it's not that. don't get me wrong. Matt and I, we love Santa. We love all the decorations to go along with it. We love the Christmas movies, the music. But it's all about this time of year where people are just, a little bit nicer to each other.
Yeah.
And to enjoy one of those things outside of the season, it reminds you of that time. And it makes you think, like, why the fuck can't we just, be nice to each other all the time? So
and that's why I do, Dylan, you and I have both talked about this too, where it's like, it's why Mixed Nuts is perfect for me, because this and Scrooged I prefer over the traditional Christmas horror movies, because I do think that the Christmas horror movies I can watch them, I would say 10 months out of the year, no problem. Mm-hmm. But like when I'm right in that, like in the thick of Christmas time, they're just too nihilistic and dour for like what I want to feel that time of the year. You know what I mean? Like some of that horror stuff is really mean spirited. Even like we did Black Christmas, which I would say is my favorite of the Christmas horror movies, and it's probably the most Christmas feeling in its presentation. Yeah. But it is a down movie.
It's
like,
dark.
Yeah.
It's
I think
dark.
the one we went most in on, Matt, is when we guested on the Jersey Ghouls. And we
Better
talked
Watch
about
Out.
Better Watch Out.
But
That is such a mean movie. And I get it. People came out of that movie like, this is the best Christmas horror film ever made. And it did so much for people, and I think both of us just came away from it like, I don't want to watch that shit. Like, especially around this time of year, maybe any other time of the year, but spoiler alert for Better Watch Out, I don't want to watch this little shithead getting away with all of this. And he basically does at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's what's like, at least there's a little bit of like Gremlins. Like Gremlins is kind of right up there with Mixed Nuts.
Yeah.
I think in that nice balance, because like it is it's a scary movie with some horrific stuff that happens, but like the core of that movie is still like family fighting to like have a nice Christmas at the end of it all. You know?
I oftentimes forget Gremlins is a Christmas movie. It doesn't fall into like Christmas movie for me too. This year there's going to be a bunch more Christmas horror coming out, so get ready for
Violent Night is dropping.
Violent Night's dropping.
Dude,
Christmas Bloody Christmas.
That
Violent
one
Night looks like
fun.
a dumb
That
fun
one looks
movie.
like it's going to be fun. And that's what
absolutely.
I want. I love Christmas horror movies that are fun.
I think it's written by the guy who wrote Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
Like, because the Sonic the Hedgehog movies are so much better than they have any right to be.
Josh Miller wrote Violent Night.
Sweet.
Co-wrote Violent Night. So
that's
that'll
perfect.
be fun. He's
like, if I'm watching a Christmas horror movie, I want it to be fun. I want it to be, if you're gonna go the darker route, I want it to be batshit, which is why I love Black Xmas so much. That movie is fucking wild.
I love that movie.
And it's not taken seriously at all. Where a lot of these Christmas horror movies that are just super dark, I just can't do it. I can't do it.
That's the thing. If you're going to do a Christmas horror movie, be ridiculous with it. Like, I can watch a movie that Kyle and I have talked about more times than I can count. Fucking Elves. You know what I mean? Like, Elves is a mean movie, but it is so outrageous from start to finish that it's a fun movie at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Like, just be fun. If you're going to go in on it, have fun with it. I mean, that's my mixed feelings aside on Krampus. They're clearly having fun with Krampus.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, they're having a good time with it.
Definitely.
Well, do we have any closing thoughts that we want to mention with Mixed Nuts here?
I would just say I'm definitely going to watch it again. It's definitely not going to become, I don't think it's going to become a traditional movie for me. I watch it every year. But I think as we've discussed and putting it in the shoes of like a stage play, I think it made the second half more enjoyable once I realized, oh, that's basically what I'm watching. Like, you could almost do this all in one take. That would be absolutely phenomenal.
You don't have to go to all the different locations that they bounce around to.
Not at all.
Like, you could easily call the vet to the building instead of taking him to the vet. You know, like
their offices are closed, so they got to something
which
like
even
that.
there, Rob Reiner popping in for a couple scenes as the vet.
It's great.
You know, I do actually want to talk about one last time, like, again, I'm not going to say that this was the perfect way that I've ever seen a trans woman portrayed in cinema.
Yeah.
But again, as someone who is in the middle of watching Friends and seeing how Friends handled Chandler's dad in 2001, like, I'm actually very impressed with the little bit of empathy and sincerity where it is. there's really not a lot of jokes made at the expense of that character at all.
No.
Like,
Very few. And then, like, it's not even. I love at the end, like, they're hinting that Adam Sandler and that character are going to get together, and it's kind of cute. It's not played for laughs at all or anything. The biggest laugh is the fact that he just re-sings the Catherine song to him.
Yeah. No, it's true. That character's handled not even delicately, like just fucking normally. You know
like
what I mean?
like
It's
an
I think
actual
that's
person.
normal.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty that I see with portrayal and inclusivity, particularly with that community, is that like it's either like done poorly, as we've seen time and time again, right? Or it's done so pointedly that
it's like,
it's
feel
still,
bad for this
it still
person.
others them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It still others them, and
that's the only thing. If you did this movie in 2022, you would cast like Laverne Cox or somebody in that role. Like that's honestly, genuinely the only problematic thing is that it's a man playing a trans woman.
Right.
That is the only problematic thing of the entire performance, because there's really no jokes made at the expense of it. There's like you said, the scene where Chris is trying to dance with Philip, played by Steve Martin, and like Steve Martin has a little bit of resistance to it, but like once Steve Martin walks out of the comfort zone, that's it.
And
Chris is
honest,
just a part of the ensemble.
To
from
be
that
honest,
point.
I feel like
dance
that's a
scene's great.
normal reaction,
From
a
To
normal
anybody forcing
person.
me to dance that I don't know. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, especially as his feelings for
Catherine are
Wilson's
coming
Catherine,
to light. Yeah.
like are starting to like develop in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like it can be it could be anybody, but it happens to be.
I love that Susie shows up at the end.
Yeah, right.
When
Actually,
she
you know what? That's
shows
a
up,
really.
And Gracie opens the door and is like, Philip's taking a bath with Catherine. Do you want to wait?
The Susan thing, actually, that is a really well written line too, where she says, "The therapist I've been seeing says that we should break up." And he goes, "That's insane. I've never even known you were seeing a therapist." And she goes, "Well, I mean the one I've been dating."
Yeah.
And like, there's something so funny about the idea that she has been dating a therapist who's like, "I really think you should break up with your
boyfriend.
One of my last thoughts is just that the Drifters' White Christmas is fantastic. There's maybe no better White Christmas. Even the original. Fuck it.
Yeah, I haven't found
compared.
one as we've done this show. So,
So good.
Nope. Top notch.
Kyle, before we wrap this up, let's talk about The Woodsman real quick.
Yeah.
So, this classic Thanksgiving or Christmas movie, depending on how you're feeling. This episode's coming out the Monday before Thanksgiving. I know at least one screening of The Woodsman will be happening on the Geekscape live stream on December 9th, which Christmas 365 might be a part of as well. So
That would be really
tuned for
fucking
that.
weird if we weren't.
If we weren't, the holiday live stream, we're just like, we're going to sit this one out, guys.
Every
Have fun.
show is a part of the holiday live stream.
Yeah. We already do this too much during the week. I don't. Yeah.
But what can you tell us about The Woodsman and where any screenings that you know are coming up in December?
Yeah, it's as of right now, there's nothing in December. I think it's the film has sort of done its festival run. It's been screening at places since June, and there are some one-offs that could potentially happen in 2023, but we're looking at a release date pretty soon. And then hopefully turning it into a feature. But The Woodsman is a short film that I wrote, directed, and edited about a Christmas tree salesperson who's trying to sell his last 3 trees on Christmas Eve in order to have another sold-out year. However, he's never really run things this close before. It's 8 o'clock at night on Christmas Eve, and he's really getting anxious about trying to sell these last trees. He ends up with one left, and his anxiety is through the roof. His alcohol consumption is also through the roof, and shit goes awry as he tries to get this last tree sold. It's fun, it's campy, it's heartfelt. Our actor, John R. Smith Jr., is a one-man band in this, so he'll alternate between traditional cinema and then breaking the fourth wall and talking to us as if we're a customer. It was a lot of fun to do, and it's gotten a great reception on the film festival circuit. And if you guys are around for that Geekscape live stream, it's a great opportunity to see it. Because as much as I'd like to put it out for Christmas or before Christmas, I don't know if that's going to happen because of the outstanding film festival dates. So it's a great opportunity to see it.
Yeah, and that one we'll be re-uploading that portion of the live stream the next day without the short film as a request from Kyle for the film festival run. So you're really going to want to watch it live for free on that live stream on December 9th. I can tell you this much. Both the short and the Christmas 365 portion of that live stream will be in the later half of the event.
Sweet.
Around the 7 p.m. Eastern Standard range.
I knew what time I was supposed to be there, but I did not know what time that the short was going to play. So I was actually just about to ask you. So I
it
can
might
make
be
sure I
right
can tune
before,
in.
right after our segment.
Sweet. All right.
As someone who knows someone who's putting together the schedule, I can say that much with confidence. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us. Also, is there anything else you want to promote besides the short before we call it?
No. You can if you are interested in any film festival dates for that, or literally anything else that I'm doing, you can find me at kylekutcha.com or at krkutcha on social media.
We're on the Horror Movie Night podcast.
Oh, shit. No, duh. Man, I thought that was your job. No, you can listen to us every Thursday. And we're going to be doing more Christmas-y themed stuff or winter-y themed stuff in the next month on Horror Movie Night, right? So
we actually did somehow stumble into 3 Christmas movies that I didn't even realize were Christmas movies.
Yeah. So that worked out well. And we do some wintry stuff during the season anyway. So it all is relevant.
Dylan, you're my favorite mixed nut.
Aw, Matt, you're my favorite mixed nut.
Whoa, now we won't stop till the big ball drops on New Year's. Have a happy holiday, have a great holiday, have a merry happy holiday.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.